This is a radio check. How do I come in? Okay. Excuse me tonight if I have any coughs or sound weird. I'm kind of sick. So we'll work through it. Yeah, there's something going around our area. That's Everybody's getting something lately. Last Wednesday or last Tuesday, I had to cancel because I was sick. I called out the next day, so I was off on Wednesday. And then yesterday, I basically spent the whole day in bed. So let's begin. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Welcome, Mantic. So, I was going to talk about the five precepts today, but I figured I'd give a talk on how to be sick. I think that would be a little bit more interesting. And how we view our sickness is a big indicator on how we view life. When we're sick, do we view it in a negative manner? Do we get angry about it? Do we say, okay, now I got to take a bunch of medicines? The medicines will do it. The medicines will cure me. Or is it, damn it, I got all these deadlines at work. I can't. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to run out. I'm behind, and now I'm sick. I can't take the day off. Or is it, I'm sick. Just another day. That's how it's supposed to be. Human beings get sick. And I've never really heard people talk about this until one Ajahn Brahm did a talk on how to be sick, and what he said really connected with me because it's one of those things where maybe it's because it's something that I always came up as a kid when I was sick. When I was sick, it was, you were sick, but it was almost like, okay, I get the day off, and now it can be fun. I can do something, you know. I can play video games while I'm sick in bed or something like that. There's always something positive to being sick as a kid, and so I don't know, I never felt a huge negativity to being sick, and growing up and being around people um, who are sick to varying degrees, it almost to me became just a part of life. And Ajahn Brahm, when he talks about being sick, he says some really great, insightful things. The first thing he says is that the first thing that we say when we're sick is there's something wrong with us. And he asks everybody, in the crowd, he says, all of you, raise your hand if you've never been sick. And of course, nobody ever raises their hand. And he says, nobody ever would raise their hand because if you had gone through your whole life and you'd never been sick, then there's something weird with you. They want to put you in a
User joined your channel.
they'd want to put you in like a lab and and analyze you. Why is this person not sick? What's going on with this
Disconnected.
person? That's really weird. So he says the next time you go to the doctor, you say, Doctor, instead of saying, Doctor, there's something wrong with me, you say, Doctor, there's something right with me. And of course, if you say that to people, they look at you really weird. What are you talking about? There's something right with you. That's one of those things why Buddhism is always going against the stream, always going against what we would consider normal societal conventions. And the reason The reason why you want to think that way is because it's the same reason why you want to think about anything on any day. When we are trying to do is to be mindful of the present. And instead of agitating our minds, instead of um, attaching all these different concepts to our body being sick, we are just there with our body in whatever condition it is and observing. And I read a story in, I think it's one of Ajahn Chah's book or somebody talking about Ajahn Chah. And they were talking about how when he was sick, he wouldn't like take any medications. He wouldn't do anything like that. All he would do is meditate. He would be with the sickness. He wouldn't add anything to it, which, in my opinion, in my experience, adding negativity to something like a sickness makes it worse. Not only mentally in your head, but how you change yourself mentally affects your body as well. It's almost like the placebo effect in a way, or reverse placebo effect, I should say. And this is something that I really tried to put into practice this weekend. Um, Sunday night I started feeling sick, and I had been sick earlier in the week, and then I was feeling better, and I started to get sick again. And I thought to myself, briefly, I said, "Oh man, like this month is almost over. I'm behind at work. I'm behind at this, behind at that. Like what, And I almost like started feeling worried about the possibility of having to call out on another day. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna do what Ajahn Chah did. And yesterday, I was just at peace all day. Stayed in my room, rested, went on the computer. I did some meditation. And I meditated with the sickness. And yesterday, when I woke up, and how I woke up with such a sore throat and extreme congestion, and how I felt. And then today I woke up and I still had a little bit of the sore throat. I still had the congestion. It was still there. It didn't magically disappear. But somehow it felt like it got better. And it might have gotten better. But I know that if I was somebody who was an anxious person, somebody who worried a lot, somebody who fed off of something like a sickness with negativity, then I would make that sickness maybe last longer, maybe not last longer. But how I created the world around me with that sickness would be completely and utterly different. So it doesn't matter if you're sick, if you're not sick, it doesn't matter what state you're in. The goal of our practice of Dhamma, of trying to see things how they truly are, is always the same. Always observing. No matter what kind of meditation we're doing, if it's a formal sitting or if it's just being there. Always observing, always attempting to see things how they truly are. And when we do that, we are cutting off those thoughts of negativity that we have ingrained in us since our childhood. Because our culture, our upbringing, kind of teaches us that sickness is bad. Sickness, ooh, not good. And even just to go a little further extent, even to the point of something like cancers and things like this, people avoid these things. Oh, people with cancer, oh, we don't want to deal with that, or if there's something that might even be contagious, God forbid, oh, we don't want to deal with that. You know, sickness is something that we put away somewhere in some corner and try to forget about it until it comes up and smacks us in the face. So if we have an aversion to sickness, and we're always trying to, in Buddhism, we talk about an aversion. Aversion is the opposite of a craving, of an attachment. Things that we find pleasurable, we enjoy, we try to attach to, we crave, we want more of. Things that we find displeasurable, that we don't like, we want to run away from. We want to push it away. That's an aversion. So if we have an aversion to sickness, then we're always going to suffer more than we need be. It goes the same thing. White Lotus and Delani have heard me talk before about the mental arrow. And the mental and physical arrow is a perfect example for this talk. Because the Buddha talked about the two arrows. It is as if you are being somebody shot an arrow at you, and the first arrow is the physical arrow. The first arrow hits, and it's that pain, grief, lamentation, the physical part of suffering, something that's happening to you. We can't avoid that first arrow. What we can do is avoid the second arrow that's coming at you. Or as how I put it, as a little bit of an action movie buff, sometimes you see in fantasy movies or medieval movies or something, they have the guys that catch the arrows in flight, something like that. So you can catch that second arrow, mental arrow, in flight, or avoid it, or get out of the way, and it doesn't have to hit you. That's what the Buddha teaches. And how that relates to the sickness is just exactly how I said before. That aversion is part of the mental arrow. If we're trying to run away from it, then that arrow is going to hit us, because we're averse to it. We want to run away. We want it to be away. We're not taking a proactive step to really avoid the mental arrow, as in being mindful and observing things as they truly are. So if we can avoid the mental arrow, as the Buddha taught us, which is possible. Once again, we cannot avoid being sick. I mean, we can take vaccinations, we can do this and that, and take medications, and do our best to avoid being sick. But when we get sick, we can't avoid it. That is the physical arrow. It's up to us how we treat that physical arrow. We can allow that mental arrow to hit us and double our suffering. Or we can dodge that arrow or grab it in midair, or however you want to put it, and just have the physical arrow to deal with. Most of us who are not, regular people in our everyday world, who are not meditators, who are not trying to progress along the path, not trying to see things as they truly are, we're going to get hit with that mental arrow, because we don't see it coming. We don't even necessarily see that it's different than the physical arrow. To us, the physical arrow of sickness is, to people who are not, who cannot see the difference, the physical arrow and the mental arrow are the same exact thing. It doesn't matter to them because they can't see that they do have a choice in how to react. To them, sickness equal bad. So automatically, sickness, oh, I'm sorry, that sucks. Oh, I'm sick today. So I'm just gonna, you know, feel sorry for myself or feel crappy or allow that to affect my mood. But when we start to see things as they truly are, when we start to see the mental processes through our meditation practice, we can see that we have the choice. We have this power that we never knew existed. And that is the power to react to whatever happens in a more positive way. When we see that we have that power, that ability to do that, then it changes everything. Because the sickness goes from being something that we have an aversion to, something that we dislike, something that is negative, to something that just is. To something that is, you're seeing things as they truly are. The body is impermanent. The body is subject to birth, sickness, old age, and death. And there's not one thing that we can really do to stop any of those. Those are the physical arrows: birth, sickness, old age, death. The only thing that we can do is observe and be mindful. And when we can do that, we can stop that mental arrow from hitting us. We can live a more positive life. And we can just understand how things really are. That's the goal. So the next time, as Ajahn Brahm would say, so the next time you go to the doctor, say, "Doctor, there's something right with me." And when the doctor looks at you funny, you can give a little chuckle to yourself and explain to him, or not. It's funny, Ajahn Brahm says that he went to a doctor, and the doctor says, he goes, "I know who your disciples are, because they come and they say there's something right with me." Now that's the way to live. That's the way. And I know that this too shall pass. I won't be sick forever. Eventually, I'll get better. And then eventually, I'll get sick again. It's just the way it is. Now, I could allow myself to worry and to build anxiety. But I knew yesterday that even though, yes, I'm behind at work, work is nuts. Today I worked, until just about an hour ago, an extra 3.5 hours. I'm running around. I knew that what would be better for me today, yesterday. And I thought to myself, what would be better for me tomorrow, knowing that I had to be out late and do all this work? Would it be better for me to worry and think, oh, am I going to have to call out? I have anxiety. Or is it better for me to be at peace with the sickness and meditate and observe, and whatever happens, happens? That's the key. So this is how, knowing how to deal with sickness actually is how to deal with life. The Buddha talks about the 5 remembrances, and the four of those 5 remembrances are: I'm subject to, well, 3 of them, I should say. I am subject to illness. I am subject to old age. I am subject to death. Have not gone beyond illness, old age, and death. So I'm no Buddha. I'm no enlightened person. So I certainly haven't gone beyond sickness. This week proved that. So how do I deal with that sickness? That's the question. And that's the question we all have to answer for ourselves. So I think that's pretty much the end of my talk. If there's any comments or questions, we can talk about sickness now. If not, then we can end for the night. As will I. Well, thank you all. Until next time, much metta, and Suki Hantu, may you be happy.